Hello, BookTube. I have some used books I want to show you. Another selection from my various adventures out and about. Some finds, and starting with this one, I was very glad to find a double of this. This is The Infernal World of Branwell Bronte by Daphne du Maurier, the author of Jamaica Inn and Rebecca. It's a straight up biography of the Bronte brother Branwell, who drank himself to death rather than buckle down and write, and it's really, really good. It's a very sympathetic but a very thorough biography of Branwell Bronte, and I don't know why. I actually don't. I don't understand the reprint structure of this author just in general, aside from Rebecca. But I don't know why this isn't reprinted. I would love it. This old paperback. I mean, I'm happy to have it, but it doesn't hold up well for reading, and I like the book. But then let's see what else we've got here. Something that we've seen on this channel before. We saw it in the tour of the big biography bookshelf. This thing, Robert Browning's big illustrated biography of the Emperor Justinian and his wife Theodora. You saw it on that bookshelf tour in a makeshift paperback, and I might have even commented at the time that what I really want is the hardcover, and here it is. All you have to do is wait, and you'll see it. And then the next one is akin to something that we've seen here before. The last used book haul that I did, or one of the last ones, was the old Dover paperback reprint of The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. You might remember it had the double columns and it had the illustrations, and I remember thinking, I love the book. I've had many editions, but I really like this format from the old days when Dover did great original work, and I found another one. He knew he was right. Another Trollope novel, a gigantic thing, also just full of the original Marcus Stone engravings that are all throughout the thing. This is an epic novel on Trollope's part, an epic study of jealousy and how it tears apart a whole family, groundlessly, needlessly. It's a one of the most psychologically insightful books that he ever did. He was more psychologically insightful than people give him credit for. They tend to think of him as this bellowing fox hunting moron, but he could have shrewd insight into human nature, and never sharper than in this. I don't like this book quite as much as The Way We Live Now, because it's so maniacally focused. Trollope, the glory of his long novels are the subplots, and the subplots in this feel almost perfunctory. He's so absorbed in the main story, and that's also what gives the book its power. It's pretty much the only novel that he ever wrote that I have seen regularly tempt critics to make comparisons with Middlemarch, which is no small shakes. I doubt that anything I ever write will elicit comparisons with Middlemarch. Then there's this thing, this the Savage Dragon Archives Volume 1. It reprints all of those issues. Those of you who are comic book fans, I don't know if you'll remember Savage Dragon or not. In fact, Savage Dragon is still going on as far as I know. This is by writer and artist Erik Larson, who created the eponymous character who is found one day in a lot, naked, green, with a fin on his head. He's not invulnerable. You cut him and he bleeds, but he heals really fast and he's incredibly strong, and decides to become a police officer and start fighting superpowered bad guys. And I had a lot of the issues, and I've reread them from time to time. There were a couple of crappy this is a black and white. These are black and white reprints on a nice loose binding, newspaper printing. The company did color reprints in smaller volumes that were crappily done. You get to page 13 and the whole thing starts to fall apart. This will not fall apart. And I'm missing the color, and the colors were really good, but I've been rereading it and I've been remembering how cheesy and over the top Savage Dragon is. Very, very enjoyable stuff. Then the next one is this thing, a hardcover of Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors by Carl Sagan and Anne Druyan. This is their book about just various meditations, chapter by chapter, on paleontology, evolution, human history, human psychology. A wonderful miscellany book along the lines of Cosmos. Just a wonderful series of popular science essays. I just love it. And I had, up to this point, a trade paperback that would creak and groan when I tried to read it. And so when I found a hardcover for free, basically free, I snatched it up. Then this thing here, some of you will be familiar. If you're up on your 9/11, you'll be familiar with this. Is a seminal work in the bookshelf of 9/11 books. This is Debunking 9/11 Myths by the editors of Popular Mechanics, in which they take all of the stereotypical conspiracy theorist talking points and talk them out, make sense of them one by one, or at least they think they do. I think I've mentioned on this channel before, the idea of 9/11 conspiracy theories utterly fascinates me. It's even more now that it's fading into the past. The problem with the main linchpin of 9/11 conspiracy theories is that it's an inside job, that the Bush-Cheney government either caused it to happen or knew it was going to happen and didn't stop it, and contracted and subcontracted hundreds or even thousands of people into this plot to stand down planes, to fly planes the wrong direction, to fill the Twin Towers with explosives, timed, carefully planted explosives. Hundreds and thousands of people who would have to be in on it. A house of cards like that is ridiculous on its face and becomes the stuff of paranoid science fiction once the administration changes office. If in order to maintain a lot of the conspiracy theorists' elaborate theories, you would have to say that the Obama administration carried on this whole thing, thereby implicating hundreds and thousands of new people. It's utterly untenable. But, as I've mentioned in connection with conspiracy theories before, there are often hooks, little kernels, things that do not make sense, that genuinely do not make sense. And this book, the editors of Popular Mechanics, when they encounter those kernels, are universally too glib and just smoothing over them, which drives me nuts. And of course, it drives, quite literally, conspiracy theorists nuts, because that's not what you should do. If you're conducting a thorough inquiry into a gigantic event, and you encounter something that legitimately doesn't make sense, that seems legitimately strange, you're beholden to say that. If you don't say that, if you say, well, yes, there's the Pentagon, and the hole isn't big enough, and there should be 100 different film clips of this thing happening, and the whole, nevertheless, we're going to explain it this way, and we're going to explain the lack of videotapes this way, and we're going to explain the conflicting eyewitnesses all over the map this way and that way, without ever once mentioning that any of this stuff, any of the evidence on the ground is a little strange. That's infuriating. So this isn't by any means they meant it to be, and plenty of writers subsequently have characterized this as the definitive laying to rest of 9/11 conspiracy theories. It's not, but it's still absolutely fascinating. And for a student of the subject, not the 9/11 attacks, but the separate subject of 9/11 conspiracy theories, it's must reading. And I've seen the endless breakdowns on YouTube videos, but I've never actually owned the book. I bought the Popular Mechanics issue from which this book was made, but I've never actually owned the book. So the book will now go on my 9/11 shelf, which is nice. And then this thing, look at this! Isn't this pretty? This is an anthology of what is obnoxiously known on BookTube, and hopefully not for very much longer, as a bind-up. There's no such thing. Okay. This is an anthology of H.G. Wells novels. There's a whole bunch of them here. The title is War of the Worlds. And look at that artwork. Isn't that nice? The whole thing is just so much better looking than H.G. Wells anthologies you usually find. And this has The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds, The First Men in the Moon, and that criminally underrated Food of the Gods. All in one volume. So I saw it, and it was basically free. It was 10 cents. So, and I think it's just beautiful. So I got it. And then the last thing I'll show you for today is this thing. It's J.D. Mackey's The Early Tudors. Part of the old Oxford paperbacks. They did a series of thick volume histories. They did a whole bunch, and they're all really good. They did the 12th century, the 13th century, the 15th century, Tudor England, the early Tudors, the later Tudors. The early Tudors is a bit of a misnomer. It covers everybody except Elizabeth. Elizabeth stayed on the throne for so long that she gets basically a book to herself. But it's remarkably comprehensive. That whole series, as usual, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you can hear this coming. I had them all at one point or another, no idea where they went. I think the only one before this, the only one that I had is the John Guy Tudor England, which it's just the best of the bunch and indispensable reading. But now I have this again, so here's hoping I hold on to it. And there you go. That is a used book haul to round out the year. I'm doing a little last-minute used book shopping before the whole world shuts down. So I thought it might be of interest, and I'll see you soon, Book 2. Thank you.